So I'm currently driving through Tennessee and it is breathtaking. I barely scratched the surface and it is just beautiful. It's vast, it's green, it's open. Hey y'all, my name is Sara and welcome to my van. I'm just hanging out with Biggie and it's raining a little bit, but I'm reflecting upon some of my travels through Tennessee. Finding the narrative within our own journey asks for a bit of self-reflection. And one of the tools that I like to use within this practice is the language of the stars. Here is where I really get to zoom out by tracking the correlations of my personal experience alongside the waves of these celestial planets, better known as astrology. And I found that by drawing upon this ancient study, I've really gained some insight within my own story, from the lessons and patterns of each chapter to the deeper symbolism within. After all, the way I see astrology, it is just our own individual mythology and a way for us to connect deeper to the freedom of who we really are. This is the transit chart that I'm going to be using based off my travels through Tennessee. It is a map of where the planetary bodies were at a specific time in relation to my personal natal chart. I'll preface by saying that I am not fluent in this language, but I do enjoy being a student of the stars. And I'm going to break this map down with the adjunct of my typical travel vlogs. And hopefully it'll encourage you to take a peek within your own journey also. So I'm currently driving through Tennessee and it is breathtaking. Oh my god. I barely scratched the surface and it is just beautiful. It's vast, it's green, it's open. I'm heading to Johnson City to re-up on some supplies, find a gym, and yeah. At the time of driving through these jungle-like hills, the moon was also crossing over my natal Jupiter in a perfect conjunction. Conjunctions amplify the strength of each planet as well as unify them. The moon symbolizes emotion and receptivity. Jupiter is abundance, success, and prosperity. And this was taking place in the sign of Leo, the sign of joy in the present moment. I was happy behind the wheel. I was utterly grateful for where I was, in between these small country towns, spending more time with the trees than people. But I was thankful for how far my van, Eva, had been taking me across the country, and for life in general. Being immersed amongst these mountains really helped feed my reset and recentering. I'm beginning to understand that this Uranus square Jupiter transit is more like a season of my life that is occurring for around 2 years. It's a long-term overarching theme, and in this chapter, I'm learning to embrace my feelings of restlessness and any unexpected forces of change. The challenge here is learning to follow the flow of what just feels right and trying to feel calm within the chaos. I can't not stop at the scenic overlook. But now there's a trail to climb to the very top of this mountain. Uranus is the nonconformist, squaring Jupiter, the planet of expansion. Squares are harder transits of tension, but through creative challenges, strength and rewards can be developed through effort over time. My comfort zone is to go slow and think things through, to figure out my next few steps before taking action. But I realize that this isn't always possible when the pace of life around me is moving much faster. Uranus is related to lightning, electricity, and rapid breakthroughs, and it's passing through my 10th house of responsibility. Jupiter governs long-distance travel, physically and etherically, and it sits in my natal first house of individuality. So as much as I like to plan everything out, my recent travel style has been quite sporadic. There is an ultimate goal destination that I see in my head, but getting there is an unknown route and an indeterminate time frame. Yeah, it was worth it. It was definitely worth the sweat. I traveled further down the highway till I found a rest area for the night. But during this drive, I was feeling extremely blessed for receiving such a surprise sunset. It was almost as if it was highlighting all the beauty that the Smoky Mountains have to offer. So I crossed the border of North Carolina into Tennessee late last night, and I'm officially exploring the eastern side of Tennessee as I head north. I drove through some amazing Smoky Mountains last night as the sun was setting, and holy moly, it felt like a warm hug just driving into the state, which is much needed as I'm currently back in stealth mode, camping out. I say that because I'm no longer in like a campground. For 2 nights prior to this, I got a little campsite to decompress after someone tried to break into the van when I was in a larger city in North Carolina. So I've been feeling much more at home in these smaller sized towns, and right now I'm in Johnson City, and I'm going to walk around the town a little bit and then do the typical thing, coffee shop, Wi-Fi, get some work done, and then go find a gym so I can shower, because even though I'm in the mountains, it's still hot here. It's like 80 something and the humidity is really high, so I don't know. It's a good prodder for me to keep going on my journey. Otherwise, every place that I stop at, I always fall in love in, and so it's better to keep going than to just settle halfway, not even halfway through my journey. So, yeah. So it's a Sunday afternoon, and there's not very many people in this city. I think it comes more alive at nighttime than than in the day. I could be wrong, but there are quite a lot of bars around here. After a few hours of sitting and working, it was time to move my body, so I left to find the nearest gym. There's some serious mountain views in this Walmart parking lot. Definitely one of the prettiest I've seen. And it's also sunset, so that makes it nice too. This summer has been heat wave after heat wave, and I'm so thankful that I have a gym membership because I was able just to go in there during the middle of the hottest part of the day and just absorb the AC. I definitely spent more time than I usually do in the gym. Worked out, showered, massage chairs, and just hung out in the locker rooms working on my phone on some things, planning my route. The sun is set and I'm going to finish running some more errands as far as re-upping on some more supplies and just random things that I need from the store. The passing sun is approaching in opposition with my natal Saturn. The sun is our vitality and central life force. Saturn is the timekeeper, the god Kronos, planet of responsibilities, structure, and limitations. And oppositions are two opposing forces, two different possibilities, and they highlight an energy where balance is needed. The transiting sun is passing through Cancer in my 12th house, and shining light upon my natal Saturn in my 6th house of service. It's in a balancing act kind of way. Familiar, creative, escapist kind of energy versus tasks, duties, and responsibilities. And the general message I've been associating with this is that loneliness can be my motivator for filling up my time with chores and busy work. On the surface, I've been getting a ton of things done while also feeling optimistic and excited for my journey. And despite a few hiccups, like intruders and breakdowns, things have been flowing quite smoothly. But the energy deeper within, honestly, has been a bit heavier. I've been getting back into the groove of traveling alone, which has opened up so many new opportunities to choose my own path without having to compromise. I've been unbounded from familiar ties and routines, but within this vast space of freedom, loneliness has been slowly catching up. although I know deep down being alone for this chapter of my life is important, there is still the energy of melancholy that exists. I'm finding that the best way to face this challenge is really just to busy myself with necessary things, getting work done, going to the gym, and addressing the multitude of chores that come with van life. It's pretty early, and I'm deciding to go to the mechanic in town because my brakes have been squealing a little bit, and I just want to get their opinion on the health of the brakes. So I changed them out about 30,000 miles ago, but I have been driving through pretty intense mountains since then, so it's good always to get a second opinion. So I drove to a General Tire store, I think it was a Bridgestone, and this happens quite often when I go to a mechanic. It really all depends on the mechanic, if they're willing to work on it. And he took one look at the van and was just like, it's too big, which I understand. If they don't have the proper lift to get the van up, then there's no point in even working on it. So they recommended me to go down the street to a larger truck mechanic, which I went to, and I got their inspection, and it was a positive inspection. They said that the front brakes, I would be fine to drive as far north as Maine if I wanted, but that they would recommend changing them out probably within a month or so, that they are indeed low. And I'm glad that I went there to get the actual measurement on the pads, because it's always crucial. And I know they recommend about 50,000 miles is where you want to change your brakes out, but it's totally dependent on how you ride the vehicle. And with this being a larger vehicle, and I've been going through some intense mountain ranges, after 30,000 miles, it seems like I need to get new brakes. The back brakes are fine, the pads on the front are just low, so I feel much better. And I'm gonna go next to, after Tennessee, I'm gonna go to West Virginia because I have some family up there, and I know a mechanic I can go to, and it's not too far away. So I'm gonna finish enjoying Tennessee and then make my way to West Virginia to make sure that the van is taken care of. After talking with the mechanic, I got a few more things done, worked on my computer, went to the gym, and then sought out a health food store to replenish my fresh water. This is a chore that I typically do about once a week. And following this, I got ready to close up shop and settle in for the night with some homemade veggie dumplings and a good night's sleep. Later this week, I'll be heading up the way to Kingsport to explore a bit more of Tennessee. My travels through the Appalachian have been helping to realign me back to my natural frequency. Earlier in the year, I crossed the country to California with my partner. It was a huge migration. We were caravanning with his truck camper and my van, and we landed in the buzz of city life between San Diego and Los Angeles. We were there for a few months exploring, and honestly, it was hard for me to get out of my comfort zone and embrace this hustle, but I'm grateful for experiencing life there firsthand because it really makes me appreciate the chapter that I'm in now. Something about the wide open spaces, the slower pace, and the nourishment given so quietly by the mountains here has been a warm welcome of fulfillment. And I guess that's it. I'll leave it on that note, and thanks so much for reflecting with me.